Welcome back, everyone. This is The Nerdy Truth, and I'm your host, Dr. J.J. Walcott. Our focus is on harnessing citizen innovation to build solutions for the future. Today, we're going to learn about how to change waste into assets. That may sound too good to be true, but wait till you hear what's happening. All right, well, welcome everyone. And what I'd like to do is do a quick around the room and have you all introduce yourself. Tell me about your background and the project that you're focusing on right now, and especially the piece of it that is your focus area.
Okay, awesome. I'll start. My name is Wendy Cowan. I am a global real estate advisor with Next Home My Way in Orlando, Florida. And I specialize in not only residential and commercial real estate, but I am an international advisor as well. So I help connect developers and investors and agents around the country and around the world. So through that, I'm working with Echo Solutions on a couple different projects for real estate projects. And Jeffrey Cole and Mr. Michael Gordon are here with us, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Okay, I'm Jeffrey Cole. I'm a mechanical designer. I do a lot of military defense work on instruments and equipment. With Echo Solutions, I've been involved with Michael and with Wendy. We're trying to express this to the world that we're trying to keep it clean and healthy.
Okay, I'm Michael Gordon. The way we got involved in Echo Solutions is we built a pilot plant at Mississippi State for the conversion of municipal waste to diesel fuel. It was funded by the United States Department of Energy, the United States Department of Defense, the United States EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and the National Science Foundation funded the project. The project worked tremendously well. It was originally supposed to be used in Guam. It started during the Bush administration. When the Obama administration came in, they killed it. And so it never was used in Guam by the military. It took 7 years of communications, but finally the government has allowed me to market this technology. In addition, Mississippi State, Louisiana State University, Alabama, Arizona State, and University of Louisiana Lafayette have joined forces and now are able to take municipal waste and or as a separate entity, waste paper, plastics, agricultural and kitchen waste, and convert it into electricity and other benefits. And basically this is the biggest portion of Echo Solutions. It should be the future. And there's things I can't say right now because of a non-disclosure agreement I have, but this should be the future.
So fantastic. That's a lot to take in and digest. And, you know, to unpack a little bit of what you just described, one of the things that I did as I went around the country and focused on a particular area each month, the first month being the environment, the number one lesson that I got from studying the environment, the research, the government dollars, and the capabilities that we have both in financial resources, but also in human resources and technological resources, is that we have an abundance of information, capability, people, and money, but we're not necessarily coordinating it all and applying it in a way that's useful to everyone. And what you just illustrated through your story is exactly that point. right? We start with these research dollars, we move it through these university systems and businesses and other innovators, and then sometimes we cut the funding, and then it sits, and then someone has to fight to be able to get the rights to use it. And this is the reality of what happens. Nonetheless, I'm thrilled to hear that you got it started. As I believe the number is actually 60% of innovation across the United States history is funded by the government, at least in its original state, which is, it sounds like what you all have faced. I have to ask, do you have any idea why it was cut in the second phase?
Well, what happened is the back in the early 2000s, we made it known that we were moving our military from Japan to Guam.
Mm-hmm.
Guam is a rock in the Pacific. It has no natural resources. We're going to put 40,000 people on this rock, and there was no waste. A waste treatment system had to be developed. This was funded for. That they said, hey, we could take the human waste and the other wastes that are developed by 40,000 people, convert it into diesel fuel. Then the next thing is you have sludge that is left over, but because of the fermentation process, that is then becomes, if it's dried, it becomes fertilizer, and it can be certified as organic. If you go to Home Depot and you look, you'll see Mill Organic. That is from the city of Milwaukee. That's their waste. They do not convert into any other benefits. And then we said, okay, we can make fertilizer that could be used on the island, but not really because it's a rock, or it could be sold in Asia. And so that was the second thing. And then the third thing was that there would become water that could be used for irrigation and other benefits. It could be taken for potable even further, but it was designed not to do that. And the reasoning it was designed not to do that was very simply, Americans would have a tough time drinking someone else's pee, put it bluntly. Though if you go to Singapore and you turn on a faucet, that's all recycled water. So it was designed, the plant we built was over 15,000 square feet. It worked. It started working, it was inaugurated. They had the Secretary of the Navy give the inaugural address, and everything was wonderful. We had a presidential change, and the new president decided he wanted nothing that was initiated by the Bush administration. And so what happened is all the technology, they've gone to a standard waste treatment system that has no benefits, that's smelly and all that, because of politics. But in the time that this was dead, what happened was they went to another thing. They got some additional funds that were not tied to this restriction and said, let's convert it to electricity. Now, plasma arc is a means of incineration of organic solid waste and conversion to electricity. And basically this is similar to plasma arc, except it has a lower capital investment cost, one, and two is it's less expensive to operate. And so that has been developed. It is now ready to be marketed. It is ideal for the United States. It is good. Actually, here in Orlando, I talked to a big hotel developer who's a neighbor of mine and said, from all your hotels, since the Chinese have stopped accepting paper and plastic from other countries, uh, uh, do you pay to have your solid waste hauled away? He says, no. We're fortunate we don't, but many do. And so what I had said is, hey, if you pay, we could produce electricity's very cheap here in Orlando. It's 7 cents a kilowatt hour. And depending on where you are and what electric company, some will make you sell your electricity to the power company for 3 cents a kilowatt hour and then buy it back for 7. And so it's not a viable thing for electricity, just the savings on electricity. Whereas if you look at in the Caribbean where they're paying 28 to 48 cents a kilowatt hour, it is very viable with a return on investment, a realistic return on investment in 4 years in savings from electricity. The thing is, if you go to the island of St. Lucia, St. Lucia is a signatory to the Caribbean something where they don't want to pollute and all this, but most of the islands, because they can't send the waste to Asia anymore, what they're doing is just burning it, and it's going up in the atmosphere. This, through EPA, this system has been certified acceptable, and we are 99% carbon footprint free. Nothing is ever 100% carbon footprint free. And the problem in the Caribbean is no one has money. In St. Lucia, they started in the valleys between different mountains. They started burying and putting their solid waste. And what's happened, they filled up these valleys. And so the thing is, yeah, they'd love to have this there. The problem is that they can't, they don't have the money to put in the system. Now, just earlier this week, I learned Dade County has no more, they have no more space to dump their solid waste. This isn't human waste, this is solid waste. So they're trucking it. They're paying up to $170 a truckload to get rid of solid waste, solid organic waste. Now it becomes interesting. And the thing is, we've got the work done so we can say, hey, we're environmentally friendly, we have all this, and we are less expensive. At Port St. Lucie, they tried with plasma arc. I know the people who did it, they spent a fortune. And one, they were ahead of time. There wasn't the problem. The first thing. The second thing is that there wasn't the tipping fees. The third thing was that different counties would not allow trash to pass through their county, truckloads of trash. Those, with this current governor, those restrictions have been lifted. So trash from Miami can come to Port St. Lucie if they chose to do that.
So if I may, let me jump in just because we're about out of time and I want to make sure that we understand what the system means. I completely on board and understanding that we want to look at the waste that we have and see it as an asset, right? How do we take what is coming out of whatever system we're using for whatever reason, and how do we then turn it into something that is renewable, reusable, and positively impactful instead of just looking to bury, to hide, to move, to upload, whatever it is that we are trying to do to move it out of the space. If you could, in short, just in layman's terms, for those of us who need to understand, what is the process? And again, not in scientist terms, but just very, very plain English. What is it that we expect or can understand?
We have studies how we can take organic waste and turn it into beneficial results. The organic waste can be from humans, can be from cows, can be paper, plastic, agricultural, or kitchen. Now, just as an example, Saudi Arabia's electricity costs are very small. But there's a dairy plant there that has 94,000 Holstein cows. Each cow on a daily basis deposits lots of manure. They have no use for it. They only have agricultural in the northern part of the country, but surely not enough for 94,000 cows. They've been drying it. They've been then using it for incinerating, which in our American West we used to do. We came in and said, hey, we can take this manure, turn it into electricity, which didn't overly excite them. But then there's a thermodynamic result where we get cooling water. Well, they use cooling water to atomize the cows, much like if you're standing in line at Disney and they, in the hot summer, and they atomize you, would they do this with the cows? And so they said, oh, that's of interest to us. So the whole thing is different. Each requirement has different points. I think 10 years from now, you're going to see a lot. And one of the things that happened in the United States, because we became so used to sending waste paper and plastic to China, most of the recycling plants are closed. In front of my house, I put barrels out. This is for recyclable. This is for regular trash. The thing is, first thing, there's very few glass recyclers today in the United States. What is most of the broken glass used for? They use it for asphalt. They mix it into asphalt and other things. For the paper and plastic, most of it's being incinerated, some with scrubbers and some without. Scrubbers meaning cleaning the air, but they're not getting the benefits. The technology that we have is in most instances not new. What it is it's no one has ever taken all the different technologies that existed and merged them into one system. Some of these fellows who have developed this from different universities are very bright, very, very bright individuals, but they have to wear loafers because they can't tie their shoes. If you ever watch The Big Bang Theory, they're Sheldons.
This is my world. This is what I live.
Okay, yeah, no, and the whole thing.
I say we serve in the shadows, not on the stage, and that's what the government scientists do, and that is the world in which I live. And I had to learn how to dress in my recent book, that's what we had to talk about, was I had to learn how to step up and speak in ways that we're not used to in the scientist community. And it is this translation that is so challenging, getting it from the laboratory to whether it's military theater or it's to everyday Americans, and being able to utilize it to help, especially in the environment. And so I love that you guys are really taking that and running with it. Now, if somebody wanted to find out more information, I know there's a lot of proprietary and also probably some classified information here, so some of it can't be shared, but is there a place that people can go, even if it is a government website or somewhere where they can learn more, or even just contact you all if they want to learn more?
They're welcome to contact me at this moment. We, again, anything we do with the original technology has to be cleared. You know, that's part of our agreement. The newer technology does not, because it wasn't funded by them in the same way. So the whole thing is, at this time, if there's interest, someone can get in touch with me. I will be happy to advise them of what I can. There is something it's going to explode very soon. And at that point, then there will be everything on the website and possibly the evening news.
Wow. Well, we look forward to hearing more. This is exciting stuff and exciting changes, and I think good news for everybody, and that's what everyone's looking for right now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is the Nerdy Truth. Sorry?
I'd like to add,
Oh.
AJ, that I will furnish you with a website link that they can plug in their information. So it's ecosolutionsinterest.com. So that'll be set up today, and it can capture their information and put them in touch with Mr. Michael Gordon directly, so he'll have access to them and they can have direct access to him. So I'll get that set up for you guys.
Great, great. Jeffrey, would you like to add any closing comments?
No, Michael.
Safe rounds?
No, Michael explained everything. It's all about the environment and what we can do with the waste and make everything better. That's the bottom line.
Yeah,
and
I'm up front and center with my objective is to protect the environment. I am an active scuba diver, and when I saw the reef in Belize and recognizing that's the largest living barrier reef system in the world, and knowing I had to protect it from my paradigm of real estate. So I got involved with developers and gentlemen like Mr. Michael Gordon to provide solutions to bridge that development from development to the environmental protection. So that's why I'm here.
The human animal is amazingly smart. We are also amazingly wasteful. And we take the path of least resistance. Consuming something and throwing away the container is the path of least resistance. The problem is now we have to deal with the container. What do we do with it? And for a while we were recycling in this country. It was wonderful. But then the Chinese started buying, and they are recycling, so everything closed down. Now they stopped buying our trash or accepting it, and what's happened is we don't know what to do with it. This is something that we're doing. There's other, Bill and Melinda Gates funded a project. They invested $30 million. It's wonderful. It's for medical waste. It takes to too high a temperature. And for medical waste, we're not good. We don't take to that high a temperature. This does. But it's also too expensive to initial capital investment, and two is to operate. We're less expensive to operate, less expensive to get in, and it's going to be there. I think you're going to see this in the future. Just as you see coming in Florida, solar farms, as you see windmills being put up, you're going to see these recycling plants.
So we really will live back to the future. And take our banana peels and
Yes.
run our cars and everything else. I'm sure it'll be
That-
quite a bit different, but for the visual.
Actually, it's, when I was a little boy, they used to have Buck Rogers on television, and I think the entertainer was Guy Madison was Buck Rogers, and he would be in his spaceship, and it was a soup pot that had a square cut out in front, and everyone says, going to the moon, that will never happen. We've proven that wrong. We've proven that we can. What they had in Back to the Future, taking garbage and putting it in the gas tank, that's real. That does exist now. It's not sticking a banana in the gas tank, but there's a few steps in between, but it can happen. The only reasoning it hasn't been done, because there's a capital investment. The whole thing is the ones who could do it, and I hope this isn't on, is your petroleum companies. They don't want that. The reason, then they can't sell their petroleum. But the whole thing is this will be the future. I think we will become less dependent upon fossil fuels and more dependent on converting waste to usable energy. And
Fantastic. Wonderful last words. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This has been enlightening and exciting, and we're so happy to have you. This is The Nerdy Truth, and I'm your host, Dr. JJ Wall.
thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.